everyone. Welcome to the award ceremony of India's Water Warriors by the Better India in association with ATE Chandra Foundation. We are gathered here today to culminate an exciting initiative to honor the unsung heroes of India who are doing exemplary work in the field of water conservation. This event is being streamed live on YouTube, and I'd like to welcome all our viewers who are here to support our nominees, to learn from our experts, and of course, to cheer our winner. Before we go ahead with the details, I'd love to invite Nimal Parekh, the co-founder and CEO of the Better India, to introduce our jury members. Nimal.
Thanks, Tanya. Hi, everybody. Really thrilled to have you all here. A wonderful jury, and of course, the water warriors who've been doing some amazing work. To have them on part of this panel is just indeed a big honor. My name is Nimal Parekh, and I'm the co-founder of the Better India. This is, for those of you joining in now, India's Water Warriors in association with ATE Chandra Foundation. This is a one-of-a-kind initiative to honor individuals for their exemplary work around water conservation, water harvesting, water rejuvenation, restoration of water bodies, water crisis management, water planning, sewage treatment, etc. I'm sure, if you just step back and look at things around us, we're all starting to see the severity of the water crisis in our country. Groundwater is depleting. We have rainfalls without seasons. Massive floods, both in urban and rural areas are facing water shortage and whatnot. In fact, as we speak, our neighboring countries, 1/3 of it is covered underwater, right? So there's climate change. All of this is happening all around us. And water, of course, is a commodity. Many would go on to say that it's as precious as gold, especially for a country like India. Because if you look at it, while we make up almost about 18-19% of the world's population, we only have access to 4% of the water resources, right? So, which automatically makes India being one of the most water-stressed countries in the world. And climate change is just continuing to exacerbate this whole pressure on water resources. Even as the frequency and intensity of floods, the droughts in the country, and so on. And at the Better India, even a decade ago, we realized that what is really needed is for solutions to be highlighted for everything that people are making a difference in water, in the smallest of ways or the largest of ways. They need to be highlighted and brought to attention. Right? Historically, we've never thrown a spotlight. In general, as a country, we've never thrown spotlight on change makers who are driving change through water conservation. Right? And we at the Better India started this about a decade ago, constantly trying to shine the spotlight on India's greatest water warriors. And these are really individuals who bring people together to solve water problems, seek solutions that are inclusive and equitable, and really go above and beyond. Never give up and inspire and help others to make a difference. And that's really what the essence of India's water warriors is. So it is really my absolute pleasure to invite you all to witness, which we think is the largest recognition, for people who have been working tirelessly to solve our water problems. To begin things, I would love to start by welcoming and introducing our esteemed jury members. First up, we have Mr. S Vishwanath. Hello, Mr. Vishwanath. Thank you so much for joining us and being a part of this event.
My pleasure.
So, Mr. Vishwanath, has over 36 years of experience in water, wastewater, and sanitation sector, helping design rainwater harvesting, aquifer recharge, wastewater recycling, and eco-science systems. He is also currently an adjunct professor and teaches a course on the theme water at the Azim Premji University, Bengaluru. Thank you and welcome once again. Next up, we have Mr. Arun Krishnamurti. He is an Indian environmental activist. In fact, Arun and we at the Better India have worked in the past to drive some water conservation efforts in the Nagapattinam district in Tamil Nadu. So Arun, he is an Indian environmental activist who has initiated the campaign of cleaning various lakes across the country. to just talk more about his journey. Very inspiring. He actually quit his job at Google to dedicate his time to the cause of water conservation and environment conservation, and started the Environmentalist Foundation of India, which is EFI. He started this way back in 2011. And with EFI, Arun has successfully cleaned over 169 lakes. He was, in fact, chosen as one of the 5 people for the prestigious Rolex Awards for Enterprises in 2012 for the scientific lake restoration in Chennai. Welcome, Arun. Really, really nice to have you with us.
It's always good to be with the Better India team. Thank you for this entire exercise and for giving me a part in this. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And last but not the least, we have Anuradha Parekh. Welcome, Anu. She is, my partner and co-founder of the Better India, where she takes care of really kind of how do we use content to bring people together? How do we drive information and bridge gaps in terms of how do we give access to ideas and innovations, right? And that's really what Anu's entire sort of might has been behind the Better India. Kind of how do you use storytelling, powerful storytelling, to drive large scale impact? She's a firm believer in the power of storytelling and content, and is an expert in harnessing it to mobilize communities by nurturing empathy, inspiring action, and transforming lives. And that's what we've been doing at the Better India. Thank you so much. This is our jury. And on top of all of this, I'd love to take this opportunity to thank our associate sponsors at ATE Chandra Foundation, who have in fact been one of the biggest supporters of our work at the Better India. ATE Chandra Foundation and the Better India also partnered last year to run COVID Warriors, where we recognized unsung heroes who were going out there and selflessly working for COVID relief. From ATE Chandra Foundation, we have Gayatri Lobo. Hi, Gayatri, thank you so much for being a part of this initiative. Really glad we could partner and drive this together.
Likewise.
So Gayatri, as I said, Gayatri Lobo brings to ATE Chandra Foundation a mix of close to 20 years of strategy consulting and the development sector experience. In fact, she was until very recently the CEO of India School Leadership Institute, which is the ISLI. And before joining ISLI, Gayatri was at Dalberg Advisors. Prior to that, the Chief Operating Officer at Teach for India, some of the biggest brands you've seen in the impact space, and was also part of the scale-up of operations of Teach for India during its first 6 years. Gayatri has also previously worked at OC&C Strategy Consultants and Avalon Consulting, working with clients across sectors. Gayatri has a master's in management studies and a bachelor's in commerce from Mumbai University. And on that note, can I have a huge round of applause for all the water warriors at this event today? Each of you is an inspiration, and we really at the Better India are in such awe of all that you have been doing and continue to do. So we truly need more people like you. And let's get started on that note. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dhimant. Now, like Dhimant said, we at the Better India have been highlighting water warriors for a long time now with the help of our content. Be it heroes who take very small steps in their homes to be able to conserve water at an individual level, or change makers who work together with communities to change the ground reality with their large-scale efforts. It has always been incredible to see the kind of impact a single person can create when it comes to solving water-related issues the country is facing. This also made us realize the need for recognizing the efforts of these change makers, and thus India's Water Warriors was launched. Over the last month, we collected nominations from across India of people who have been doing exemplary work in water conservation, harvesting, rejuvenation, restoration, and a lot more. These nominations then went through a rigorous internal vetting process, as part of which we shortlisted 15, followed by 10 nominees. Our jury panel then scored the shortlisted nominees, while our audience voted for each one of them. The final results was decided with 60% weightage given to jury scores and 40% to votes. Following this entire process, today we are here to announce the top 5 nominees selected after this process, and also to announce the winner. Now, I'd like to invite Gayatri Lobo from ATE Chandra Foundation to give the keynote speech. Gayatri, over to you.
Thank you. And thank you, Dhiman, for that introduction. I'm very excited to be here. As the month mentioned, we've worked previously with Better India and always look for opportunities to continue doing that. Last year was a very grim situation last 2 years, where COVID was concerned and where we partnered with Better India. Things got better on the COVID situation. I'm hoping partnering with Better India on identifying water warriors will also help us improve the water situation in the country. Water is a huge issue. I can get into millions of facts and numbers and statistics, but we all know that people constantly say that the next wars are going to be fought on water, not oil anymore. But what does that mean for a country like India, where 163 million Indians don't have access to safe drinking water? Right? We've been taught in schools, we've been taught at home how to conserve water. Some of us do, but I can guarantee that most of us actually don't. And what this has resulted in is real pressure on the ground, where pressure should be least exerted on the poor. India's groundwater levels are depleting. Lakes, wells, reservoirs, dams rapidly drying up. And several states have been really severely impacted. Rajasthan, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, Madhya Pradesh, parts of Maharashtra. And rainfall is so varied, right? Right now we have excess rainfall in Rajasthan. We have 40% less rainfall in UP, states that are not that far from each other. Our work at ATE Chandra Foundation focuses largely on rural communities. And we've seen that nearly 1/5 of rural households today don't have access to the minimal quantity of water that they are eligible for, or what they should be getting, which is about 55 liters per capita per day. Equivalent of that would be like 2 buckets of water. So imagine there are 1/5 of households that don't get 2 buckets of water to live on per day. This is how bad things are. A lot of us living in the cities have water cuts, but we don't really realize how bad the situation is, few hundred kilometers away from our homes. And what this does is, the impact of it is, okay, there's no water, but what is that larger impact, right? Small and marginal farmers with no access to water, they lose their complete livelihoods. They take loans, they expect a good rainfall, that doesn't happen. They have no crop, and then, unfortunately, a lot of them are forced to either sell off their lands completely. Some of them are forced to actually commit suicide. If you look at, previous data, 87.5% of all farmer-related suicides across the country were in 7 water-stressed states. And that's really why our foundation started working in this area in the first place. That is something that really upset us and drove us to start saying, how do we actually address this issue of water and make lives easier for these small and marginal farmers? And it's not just the farmers, right? If you actually have access to water, the women in the households have more time. They have more time to educate their families. They have more time for further livelihoods. They're not spending 3 hours a day going and collecting water. You see these beautiful pictures of the Rajasthan landscape of women walking in hordes and collecting water. Looks pretty, but their lives are anything but pretty. And we know that even there are issues around the quality of water. So there's health issues reported from across the country, again, water related, in terms of high fluoride levels in the water. And actually, data shows that it puts about 66 million people in 20 states at risk because of high fluoride in water. But overall, I think socioeconomic prosperity, gender outcomes, all of these can be bettered by addressing one issue, and this is the issue of water scarcity. So we genuinely feel that health, education, economic growth. I've worked in multiple sectors, and now I can see that how all of them converge, very, very unfortunately, but converge on the lack of water, lack of drinking water, lack of water for agriculture, lack of water for other purposes. And it's really very heartening to see so many of the nominations that Better India received of individuals who are going just above and beyond, trying to address these issues, not just from themselves, not just for their families, but actually going beyond, looking at communities, looking at their states and beyond, working on models that they're not holding, just close to their heart for their own use, but actually working on models that can be replicated, can be picked up by others and used. And this, I feel, is really what's going to become crucial for this movement to conserve water, as we grow and build momentum, and really get more and more people to address this issue, and more people to be aware of this issue. So a big thank you to all our water warriors. I really salute you. What you do is so instrumental for the prosperity of this country. And also big thank you to Better India for putting this platform that can share their stories. There's no better communicator in this country than you guys. So thank you for recognizing this issue, recognizing these water warriors, and looking forward to doing much more work with some of these water warriors, but also with Better India. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Gayatri. You really touched upon some really important points, and the major one being how we look at water scarcity as one issue, and then we look at all the branches that impact trickles down. And like you said, it's always heartening and inspiring to see how all our change makers are able to look at these branches in their own different ways and create impact in a larger sense. Thank you so much for sharing the words with us. I'd now like to bring on all our jury members for a quick round of questions to help us understand the need for highlighting the work of changemakers like these based on their own expertise from different fields that they are working in. So we'll get right into it, and I'll have my first question for Mr. Vishwanath. Mr. Vishwanath, in over 30 decades of work that you have done, how have you seen rainwater harvesting specifically evolve in India? So, there are right from methods to implementation to even the awareness around its importance, the importance of rainwater harvesting. Please shed some light on if and how you have seen it evolve and grow in the country.
Thanks, Tanya. It's not 30 decades, it's 3 decades. Otherwise, you make me a Methuselah, right?
3 decades.
So 3 decades, yeah. Good enough. So one of the things is that I think a seminal part of the journey that India took with water harvesting was the publishing of the book called Dying Wisdom by Center for Science and Environment. And this was in the 90s. And this book documented all the traditional water harvesting systems across all ecosystems and climatic zones of India. This, I think, for the first time brought to light, at least to the English-speaking audience and to the urban audience, as to the kind of heritage that we have with water harvesting. And it became clear that we were neglecting them, for want of a better word, because we'd moved into piped infrastructure and we'd moved into a groundwater or a borewell-based philosophy, right? So post that, a lot of towns and cities started to examine their water scarcity and try and see what they can do with local rainfall. And then it became clear that we have to protect our forests, we have to protect our wetlands, we have to protect our river floodplains if we want water to be safe and not impact communities negatively. But in the more scarce regions, we have to pick every drop of water and put it to productive use. So therefore, the traditional system of lakes and ponds need to be revived, revitalized, and made sure that all the water is held there. India is the world's largest user of groundwater. So therefore, we need to pick rainwater and recharge our aquifers so that the 33 million borewells or the 40 million borewells that we have and the 250 cubic kilometers of groundwater that we bring out annually, pump out annually, and apply it on our lands gets replenished. The soil as a buffer, increasing the organic carbon in the soil and making sure the soil can hold water and retain it for a long time, also starting to become very clear. And of course, in our urban areas, we see both urban flooding as well as water shortage at the same time. And we understand that it's because we are mismanaging rain. If we're able to pick this rain and store it in our sump tanks, push it into the ground, into our aquifers, then not only do we have water for summer use, but we also mitigate urban flooding. Right now, as I speak, the city of Bangalore is reeling with certain areas of waterlogged. We are starting to realize that the tanks that we have desecrated and the connection between the tanks need to be protected and need to be made sure that they hold on to the water and direct it and channelize it either into the aquifers or away from our cities. So rainwater is now everybody's business, every individual, every community, and the state can get involved in the solution. That's what the realization is. And I think the water warriors are showing that with their exemplars, many more people can join this journey. And if those people join the journey, then there should not be any water scarcity in India.
Definitely makes sense, Mr. Vishwanath. I would like to actually take that, the fact that so many people are now getting aware of this. I would like to connect that to my next question for Anuradha. How I want to discuss with you, based on your expertise in creating impactful content. If you could please highlight how we can harness the power of social media and content to accelerate social change in fields like water conservation. Like Mr. Vishwanath was saying, now that so many stakeholders are involved, I feel that also shows the importance of it. But wanted to understand from you on what you have seen over the experience of your work as well.
Absolutely. And thank you, Tanya, for that question. And a big welcome and thank you to all our jury members and Gayatri and everyone who is here, and especially to our water warriors who are fighting every single day to bear the burden for all of our sins. So I think, Tanya, I think the way we look at social media and content, I think we have never been in our entire human history, we've never been at a stage where we have a medium to talk to millions of people at one time, right? It's always been, people working in silos, people working in, smaller groups or individually, and not many people would know what's going on. And we were all living in our own little worlds where we were, doing whatever we were, causing whatever harm we were, or, cleaning up whatever mess we could. But we could not involve a larger discussion around this. We could not create a narrative around this, and we could not inspire more and more people to join this and make it a movement. I think today in history, we are at such a juncture where we have the opportunity to be able to amplify the work of change makers. I think social media plays a very important role, social media as well as the content that we create and take it to people, especially at the Better India, the way we started out by telling stories of change, right? The learnings that we have seen and the reason why we do this every single day is to look at a three-pronged approach to make this into a movement of change, right? One is to amplify the work of change makers who exist who are already doing good work, but very few people know about this because traditional media has not really ever focused on the work of change that happens. So second way is to really get support for such people, get volunteers, get donations, and make people aware that there are solutions that they can plug into as well, right? So the second part is really creating awareness in society that such solutions exist and that they can become part of that movement. The third real way in which social media creates a change, and I think that's something that every single one of us becomes a part of, whether we like it or not, because all of us are on social media, is to be influenced by what we read, by what we consume on all of these channels, right? So when we are coming across news of people who are making a difference and how somebody went about and created a change, started something small in their own little ways, in their own homes or their own neighborhoods, I think the thing that really happens is hundreds or thousands or even sometimes millions of stories when they go viral. Millions of people get inspired by those stories. So the third way in which we create that change, make that change happen, is through inspiration. And inspiration that leads to action. It's not just pure inspiration that leaves you feeling, all nice and good, inside. But it's really about inspiration that has an action-oriented approach. Like, I'm inspired to do something. Okay, what can I do? All right, I can join these people, or I can replicate that solution in my own neighborhood, my own community, and things like that. So we at the Better India have seen millions of examples of the power of social media to amplify efforts for large-scale water conservation, right? One that comes to mind right away is a campaign that was organized by the Better India called Lake Revivers Campaign, Lake Revivers Collective, in which we raised about 17 lakh rupees in the matter of just a few days and rejuvenated an entire lake in Bengaluru. And this was all through the help of social media and our audience, which came together to make this happen. I think social media adds on to all kinds of efforts around activation, the call for volunteers, fundraising, and above all, spreading the awareness on issues that many might not even have heard of, right? So this helps add support to the causes that any water conservation effort might have taken up. Now, additionally, I think working in our own silos, many change makers are looking for solutions that have already been implemented in some other part of the country. So that's where we have seen content leading to massive impact. Stories of innovation and change motivates people to take up similar ideas, right? And to volunteer for an existing initiative or even come up with new ideas based on inspiration taken from the content that they come across. One example from one of our recent stories at the Better India is about the story that we covered about a Bengaluru resident who saved 50,000 rupees per month with the help of a unique rainwater harvesting plan. This was Mr. Ganesh Anbag, a resident who helped 30 apartment complexes to install this simple rainwater harvesting system, and all for free. So after the story, he received over 800 emails from people asking for guidance to implement a similar system in their own locality or apartment complex. One major impact was that the president of Bengaluru Apartments Federation reached out to him in order to constitute a task force for better implementation of this idea across the city of Bengaluru. So he was invited to demonstrate his method of rainwater harvesting, sewage and garbage treatment to over 100 resident welfare associations who had visited his premises. He also showcased the same for large-scale apartment construction projects to implement the system in 21 upcoming buildings. So this is just one example among the thousands that we can quote, right? And that's what I mean by saying that content and social media have a large role to play in putting in highlighting the solutions, putting the spotlight on them from across the country and the entire world, really, like it's never been done at this massive scale before. And this is what is really resulting in bringing together people together and making them come together for common causes, make communities. So yeah, Tanya, this is really how people come together and become part of a larger movement. And this has never been possible before, but social media has just changed that entire dynamic for us.
Yes, that makes so much sense. And to see the impact of these stories and social media actually creating the impact on the ground is always really motivating and inspiring. That takes me to my next question to Arun as well. Arun, while Anu was talking about bringing people and communities online together, you have also had the experience of bringing communities together on the ground to solve issues, right? So how difficult or easy is it to bring people and communities together in this way to solve water needs, and how important do you think it is?
See, in the context that we are all using social media to discuss how Bangalore is flooded, parts of Bangalore is flooded or inundated. Same story happened in Chennai, Hyderabad, everywhere, yes. And whenever all of this happens, the one thing that commonly stands out is spur of the moment reaction. And when there is a lot of discussion around water related to urban flooding. And then when our cities run dry, there's a lot of discussion on exploitation of water. But after a certain point, all of this is forgotten because we're a nation that is gripped in politics, movies, and something else, which is that's so entertaining that environment is always the last agenda item. So we as environmentalists, or in this case, water conservationists, have to compete with the movie stars, have to compete with the politicians, to somehow grab attention from people for real causes. And in most cases, what happens, an agitation or a protest is what takes center stage. Field work, which is science-based, logic-based, result-oriented, may not find resonance with the audience. So all that I'm saying is to somehow get the large, wider public to understand water conservation as fellow human beings and get them to be a part and not think of it as a social movement, not think of it as a social goodwill, but think of it as our individual responsibility towards the planet, it is challenging. It has to be in so many different languages because we are a big country. It has to be culturally sensitive because there are so many different social paradigms that one has to stick to. And then having to work with multiple stakeholders, government, media, the donors, the general volunteers, students. So you take the social dynamics, it is quite challenging, but it is interesting. It is interesting. And that's why the Water Warriors Award is an important platform. Because here you're looking at as to how many, while being part of the jury, reading through the applications that we've received, how many people are doing so many things and they've never even been spoken about, and such unique projects in the different corners of the country, right? And when we think water, we only often think about water stressed regions in the country, but here we were reading applications, so many applications from rural Karnataka, rural Tamil Nadu, where there were people who were doing things which was based on need, which was based on what is currently happening on field. And that is exactly also the reason why there is hope. Despite a wide population still yet to act, in the larger society, there are such single standpoint contacts who are still initiating efforts and being the social nucleus to attract the wider population to believe in causes such as this. It is a challenge, but I think we're getting there. And I don't think there ever will be a day when we are all water conscious, water sensitive, water responsible, that we don't need the Water Warriors Awards. I think the largest society is going to keep us busy in every year finding new warriors who've done something to undo this water crisis.
Definitely, Arun. And thank you so much for the work that you are doing. And your work is also inspiring so many others. My next question is an open question. I would just request Mr. Vishwanath, if you want to take this, what comes to mind when we say future of water, right? So we were discussing the theme future of water. What would you say can we do as individuals or citizens of India to reduce water stress?
Well, one of the things is to work closely in tandem with Sarkar, which is the government, Samaj, which is the community, and Bazaar, which is the market, right? So all three will have to come together. So the government of India is now running one of the world's largest rural drinking water projects called the Jal Jeevan Mission, which seeks to deliver 55 liters of water per capita per day to rural homes, right? Now, if we succeed in that, it will relieve so many women of the burden of having to walk for water, to waste time on water, to fight for water. It's one of the most gender positive things that can ever happen, getting a water into your home and having a toilet in your home, right? Now, one of the challenges before the Jal Jeevan Mission would be how do we ensure that the source from where the water is being drawn is sustainable? So as water harvesting will get integrated as part of that design, it will be for us as individuals, water warriors, the community at all, to come together to make sure that these sources are sustainable. One challenge, cover all our villages, cover all our cities, make sure that the source has good quality water and enough water to supply at a household level. This is just domestic water. Imagine that's more than 60% of India's farmers are rain-fed farmers, dependent on rain. Can we work with these farmers, as many people have been working, to make sure that the soil organic carbon is increased, that the soil becomes more humus-ridden and can be able to hold more water so that rain-fed irrigation can continue and proliferate even without other forms of water, right? Even if you are not able to get dam water or groundwater there. The last point that I want to mention, there are many things that can be discussed, is that we are a groundwater civilization. India is the largest user of groundwater in the world. There's no other country which comes close to using groundwater the way that we do. And groundwater has been shown to be running out in many parts of India, but also to spew arsenic and fluoride. Now, rainwater harvesting can be a solution to both the water shortage as well as providing clean water free from arsenic and fluoride. If we are able to do this and do this at scale, I am not a pessimist. I think India has shown that with only 4% of the world's water resources, it can support 18% of the population. So we will be a model for demonstrating the effectiveness with which we can use water. And for me, as an optimist, including climate crisis, I don't think that we need to despair. We need to get to the job and make sure that as many communities and as many individuals participate so that we find solutions. And I'm very hopeful that with the young, energetic volunteer base and people, we will be able to crack the problem.
Definitely. Anu, would you like to add something to that about what comes to mind when we say future of water, or any advice to people and individuals out there?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely, right? I think Mr. Vishwanath and Arun both have had very valid points. And I truly believe that the future of water is completely linked to everything. I mean, just like how Gayatri mentioned, nothing works in isolation, right? Everything comes together. Unfortunately, it's one world, one planet that we are living on. And we're one population, all of us, every one of us is contributing positively or negatively, very negatively right now. And when we talk about water issues, right, we normally, tend to think about droughts and, the depletion of groundwater, and basically we're talking about shortage, right? But the other aspect we tend to probably not associate with water issues is the places which are flooded or the rising of sea levels. I mean, all of this is causing water stress as well. I mean, that's the other aspect of water where we also need to be cognizant. And all of this is linked to climate change and ultimately, our own consumption patterns. And the only way forward, there is, of course, a huge role that the government plays, private sector plays, like Mr. Vishwanath mentioned, Samaj and everybody, all of us together, right? But I think things are not going to change until each and every one of us takes responsibility for our actions. And each and every individual on this planet becomes a stakeholder and a change maker in his or her own right? And that is only going to come through mass awareness. That is going to come through people believing that they are the change that they need to see. They need to really take that first step, and they need to take several steps post that to really make a difference. Right? So it's only when each and every one of us becomes a stakeholder, a change maker, and takes responsibility for our actions that we are going to really see any measurable change happening. So the advice is really let's start today.
Thank you, Anu. Arun, any final words?
Water is what actually gives Earth its unique identity in respect to the other planets, right? Water is also going to be that one natural element of phenomena that is going to put every human in his or her place. That is water's future, either by being there in abundance or by not being there when we need it, and by constantly reminding us that the planet is supreme and that we share this planet with all other lives, and all of nature's resources cannot be taken for granted, and not just for human consumption. Water is actually what a magical element that it is, with memory of our own culture, practices, innovation, and sustainability for the future. Water is going to define our future. That is what comes to my mind when I think water in our future.
Thank you, Arun, and thank you, jury, for this really insightful conversation, from all the pointers of let's start today to the need for bringing all and every major stakeholder on the same page, and the uniqueness of water for this planet and the need to protect it. Really gives us some really important things to think about, and some very important points to work towards. So thank you so much for this lovely conversation. Moving ahead, we'll now dive right into the stories of our top 5 nominees. And I'd love to quickly introduce them to you, and would also request you to sit back and join me in understanding their inspiring journeys, which has resulted in the kind of impact that they have created today. So we'll get started. We'll begin with Avni Mohan Singh. Avni provided solar-based potable drinking water through 24/7 water supply schemes by adopting integrated water resource management approach in over 1,500 villages. We'd love for you to have a quick look at Avni's journey.
He brought solar-based potable drinking water to help 1,550 water-scarce villages and help more than 10 lakh villagers. So far, he has created a storage capacity of 80 billion liters of water. Meet water warrior Avni Mohan Singh, who has been fixing water scarcity problems in rural areas across the country for the last 30 years through his initiative Haritika. Recently, his watershed management project in Jhansi, which increased groundwater level in the area by 2 to 5 meters, was commended by Niti Aayog in 2018. Haritika has managed to turn 100 acres of land cultivable by constructing check dams, farm ponds, and renovating existing structures. The initiative also focuses on improving farming techniques that help increase yield. Till now, Haritika has been able to provide safe drinking water to 300 villages and aims to expand to more geographies that face similar water management issues.
Thank you so much, Avni. It's great to have you here with us today. Next up, we have Mahesh Panpallia. Mahesh has constructed 130 ponds, a traditional water harvesting structure, and over 200 water tanks for clean and safe drinking water. The story of how he did it is coming up on your screens right now.
He has built almost over 200 water tanks connected through groundwater to provide safe and clean drinking water in water-scarce areas of Rajasthan, benefiting 45,000 villagers. Meet water warrior Mahesh Panpallia, who has been on a mission to make clean water accessible for the last 33 years. In Rajasthan's Barmer district, where there is scanty rainfall, the availability of water is almost always a problem. To fix this, Mahesh established Dhara Sansthan in 1989, which has worked on multiple water-related projects till date. One of their initiatives, Nadi Renovation Program, focuses on restoring the traditional practices of Nadi system, in which the rainwater is harvested in embankments from the runoff. This surplus water is then available through the summer months for up to a period of 1 year. Dhara Sansthan has constructed a total of 130 nadis till now. It aims to improve millions of lives through a sustainable model of development and continuous intervention.
Mahesh, thank you so much for joining us today. Next up, we have Ravinder Ulangwar, who led projects like Narmada Malwa Gambhir Link project in Madhya Pradesh and the Saurashtra branch canal pumping system of Sardar Sarovar project in Gujarat. Here's his story.
He uses advanced technology to provide irrigation and drinking water to millions of citizens in the most energy efficient manner. Meet water warrior Ravindra P. Ulangwar, who is also an engineer from Maharashtra. In the past 30 years, the 55-year-old has successfully introduced multiple new and innovative projects across the country. These are affordable, appropriate, and adoptable by our farmers, steering our country towards becoming truly Atmanirbhar. Ulangwar's projects have helped transform the economy of many regions. He has worked closely with local communities, implementing water projects for social causes. Ulangwar wants to make his projects popular with policymakers of the country. He also hopes to work with young students of science and advanced agriculture. Here's to Ulangwar's amazing work and contributions.
Up next, we have Dr. Nimal Ragawan, who has restored 118 water bodies all across Tamil Nadu and benefited more than 40 lakh individuals. Here's his story of leaving his job in Dubai for this cause. Please have a look.
In the last 3 years, he has created 102 lake islands in Tamil Nadu's Peravurani Lake and planted 13 lakh native saplings that help with catchment areas, maintain atmospheric moisture, and improve groundwater levels. Meet water warrior Dr. Nimal Ragawan. He has created 3 islands in Tamil Nadu's Peravurani Lake and planted 25,000 native saplings that help with catchment areas, maintain atmospheric moisture, and improve groundwater levels. It all started in 2018 when he witnessed severe destruction caused by cyclonic storm Gaja, which led to massive loss of livelihood at his native village Nadiyam in Tamil Nadu. Raghavan quit his job in Dubai to help 90 cyclone-affected villages. He started desilting and restoring the 565-acre Peravurani Lake, one of the biggest in the Delta region. Within 104 days, he set up soil boundary walls, deepened the lake, and raised the height of the existing bund. The lake is now capable of irrigating more than 6,000 acres of land and has reached 70% of its capacity. The groundwater level too has gone up from 400 feet to 40 feet. Raghavan has motivated youth and residents across districts to take up desilting and restoration of more than 54 water bodies. In the future, he plans to expand his work throughout India so that no farmer suffers as a result of water constraints.
Dr. Nimal and Ravindra, it's great to have you with us today. Last but not least, we have Dr. Devraj Reddy, who has spent 35 years working for rainwater harvesting, borewell recharging, and groundwater rejuvenation using modern technologies. Here's a glimpse at his work.
More than 2 lakh acres of agricultural land in India is being irrigated with this water warrior's sustainable groundwater recharging system. Meet hydrogeologist Dr. Devaraja Reddy, NJ, from Karnataka. Hailing from a family of farmers, Devaraja grew up witnessing the terrible fate of agricultural workers in water-scarce areas. This inspired him to innovate his very own artificial borewell recharge through rainwater harvesting technology. It revives dried borewells by diverting rainwater to underground aquifers. This is done through the very bore pipe that pulls the water out. Dr. Reddy's system is eco-friendly, cost-effective, easily replicable, and made with locally sourced materials. The system has now been implemented in various parts of the country.
Thank you, Dr. Devaraja. And congratulations to all 5 of you for being the top 5 nominees. Like Arun said, everyone is a water warrior. Everyone has done some amazing and extremely inspiring work like we saw here. Now is the part that we have all been waiting for. It's now time to announce the winner of India's Water Warriors. I request for everyone to be visible on the screen, please, while we announce the winner of India Water Warriors, the one-of-a-kind awards for change makers in the field of water conservation across India. So here's, without further ado, the winner of India's Water Warriors is Dr. Nimal Ragawan. Dr. Nimal, congratulations. A big round of applause for you. And I'd love for you to share a few words with us.
I would like to thank each and everyone who stood with us, with all the people who is working on ground. I would like to thank all the excavator drivers, workers, the people who helps other volunteers to work. and to all sponsors, to the companies who is looking to make a change in the society, and to our forefathers are the previous rulers who built dams and water bodies across the country. This is boosting to do more and more work in the coming days. And actually, I was the youngest and very least experienced in the list, but still, there are many legends who I saw, like, wow, 30 years experience, 35 years experience. What I'm doing here? Even I'm not even their experience is not even my age actually. So it's really a honor, and I'm looking forward to work with each and every one of them. And lastly, I would like to conclude this. And my father was a great pillar to me all these days, all these years. He was the one who said, when I resigned my job, he is the one who said, "Don't worry, you like it, right? Go ahead. Whatever comes, I'll face. You just do whatever you love," he said. Last year, he passed away. I'd like to dedicate this to my father and to my team, all my team, my Kaifa team, Biotosoil team, Urkudi Urunikapum, Namta Mirabarni, and many teams who works along with me. And to my the first person who trusted me was my sponsor, who gave an excavator to me, who believed in me, and who gave an excavator to me, Milky Mist Mr. Satish Kumar sir. With that excavator only, I was able to restore around 70 water bodies here. And then Urmila Enterprises, and then my operator Pandya, excavator operator. He is a superman actually, and without him it won't be possible actually. And my friend Sujita, she only said about this Water Warrior Award, and she only did everything, even the write-ups, everything. She only compiled and sent. Thanks, Sujita. And there is a saying in Tamil, "Neerindri amayadu uladu." That is like, there is no world without water. I would like to conclude this with this. Let's work on our Mother Earth. We have only one Mother Earth, and let's work together and let's make our Mother Earth green again. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Nimal, and a huge congratulations to you and your entire team. Now, with over 200 nominations that we received, like Arun was saying, it was incredibly inspiring, but also equally difficult to pick out one winner and award one winner. So now, while our winner Nimal has been selected basis the scores of the jury and the scores of and the votes of our audiences, we also have a surprise winner that the jury has informed us about, which is we are awarding a jury award as a special surprise award, which goes to Miss Asha S. Asha has successfully recharged drinking water borewells in 13 villages and installed a rainwater harvesting program in 3 government schools. She is also the only woman nominee among our top 15 shortlisted nominees. Her work has been amazing. Here's a look at her work. Unfortunately, Asha had to drop out. So, Asha, whenever you see this, huge congratulations to you and your team, and a huge round of applause for you. With that, we come to the end of this event. We congratulate not only our winners, but also each and every one of you who is indeed India's water warrior in every sense of the phrase. This last month has been an amazing journey for us at the Better India, where we met so many of you, got to know so many of your stories, and got inspired to take action. We hope you keep doing this extremely exemplary work that you have been doing and keep inspiring us. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Have a great rest of the day ahead.